have your SG&A, your selling, general, and admin costs for what we've come up with here. And so now we can look at whether you call it your partnership, your promote. It'd be interesting to see what it is that you split and how you manage that with your partners based on the equity that was put in the deal and what comes out to your partners and what comes out to Mr. Rosen. Here, would you like to elaborate for us?
Well, on the gross profit, just if you want to stay there, on a good home building deal, that's 23% is a 20 to 23%. If you're a higher price, it's going to be higher. But on production homes, that's a pretty reasonable number. And the SG&A, if you look at the publics, they run between 10 and 12%. You know, the more efficient you can make it, obviously, the more volume you have. Volume does wonders for that number.
By the way, is this, how much of this is yours cost and how much of it goes to broker co-op and?
Broker co-op is a little higher than we thought. We budgeted about 35 or 50%, 50% co-op broker, like 3%. But the market changed, so it's now 4% with the co-op brokers. Changed about March, April.
How'd they get rid of that?
Market got a little tighter, so that's what some people, once everybody starts paying it, you know, this one pays it, this one pays it, this one pays it, and it goes up, you know, but they get away with it. Some people are paying more. I mean, some publics are paying up to 5.
So if you're going to be competitive, it's the only way.
So yeah, and then we also, we're getting about 65 to 70% co-op broker. So the cost is up a little bit. No, fortunately, we were able to see it. That was offset by the reduction in advertising from the budget. So the advertising cost went down by 6 figures, well over 100,000, but the brokerage went up. But interestingly, the percentage of customers that come in with a broker that end up buying and closing is significantly higher than people that come in without the broker.
So let me understand this right. So 35% come in without the brokers, 65% with. So let's just rough.
No. It's probably reversed. 25 to 30% come in with the broker.
But
the people that purchase, it's about 65 to 70% with the broker.
So that tells us that the brokers may actually be doing their job.
And where that's a change is.
I'm so surprised what you say.
I said that was, and I happen to have a broker's license.
No, but I'm saying in the suburbs, the brokers weren't as big a part of it historically.
Right.
It was around the third, and half of them were friends and relatives that had a brokerage license. Because so much of the market now in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade is resale, because there's really not a lot of new homes,
Right.
relatively speaking to the size, that they're with the broker, and like any business, there's top brokers, you know, like in any brokerage firm, the top brokers, the top few do 90% of the deals. I mean, it's always something. But look, they've been pre-qualified, et cetera, and that's what it is.
So they've done their job, and by the way, you then cultivate those brokers.
Yeah, the salespeople for sure. Absolutely.
So that's really interesting.
You have an in-house sales staff?
Oh, yeah.
Pay salary, whatever, hourly.
Yeah, everything is done. It's salary and commission. Yeah, everything is vertical. It's no different than Terry. We do construction, sales, marketing, everything. We subcontract all the physical work, but our people do everything.
So ultimately your costs stay about the same. And so now this is the split here.
That's the net income after all costs.
And so how is that? And so now it goes back to your question on the.
So what you would do there, what you will, because we don't have a fancy waterfall, as the money starts coming in, first you start distributing and repaying the equity. So let's talk about the equity for a minute before we get into spending it. I structure my deals a little bit differently than most private builders. If you look historically, there's been a big change over the last 30, 40 years of private builders not surviving, and publics. But the ones that have survived, whether they're private, like Minto or GL, or public, like Lennar, and I'll use Lennar because they're the best. A, they're local. B, from a Wall Street perspective, they're the smartest of the publics. They're the financially savviest, the best managed. They're very, very bright. They're way ahead of it. If you look at a commonality in the balance sheet, you'll see heavy equity. Like you look at NAR's balance sheet, it's around 45–50% equity. GL is heavy equity. Minto, we were always, I'm sure they still are, heavy equity. So we never borrowed on the land. You know, because the one thing none of us know is when something's going to happen, it's going to cause a problem. So if you're well into the job and you have high leverage or high debt, and things turn, you'll go through basically the interest will eat you alive and you go through your equity very quickly. So if you have what I would call, let's say, a fortress financial structure with no debt on the land, it's pretty tough to go broke because you don't have to pay any interest. You know, you're just paying, it's an internal cost of carry. So how I structure the deals is, let's say the land was 6.5. My partners and I put in 10.5 million. So the land was equity. On the infrastructure, we only borrow 50%, which is not a lot. So we borrow $1.2 million, we put $1.2 million in for land. And then if you remember over there, as Rosie knows, I like to start early. So by the time we open for sales, by the time we open the models, there's a bunch of buildings under construction and the project is well along. We have equity that we can get ahead of ourselves. And then by the time we open, we get some pre-sales, and then we can start borrowing from the bank. And if the world were to, let's say, shut down and it's always an unforeseen reason that none of us are smart enough to know about, whether it's 89 units or 1,000 units, you decide you want to slow it down. You know, let's say take it, because it's easy to understand on 89 units. If the world were to end, you know, we have a huge equity cushion. We have deposits on the sold units. Everything is under construction is basically pre-sold with maybe 6–8 specs. So if we lose a few contracts, we have the deposits to offset that. We can cut the price and either sell the unit or rent the unit. Close out on everything else, and then we decide we want to build it out and pull our equity out of the land, or slow it down and cut our overheads and wait till we think the market's going to pick up. And the only answer is what you think the world is going to do over that period of time.
So how many units are actually built right now?
Are under construction and built?
Yes, or pre-sold.
40, 45 units. Pardon?
I was told 63 last month.
How many?
63?
63? Yeah, we'll go.
So you could stop right now, and in fact, if you look at this, you might actually pull out a net income of probably about $1.5 million or $2 million.
Yeah, the project actually turns black this month.
Okay.
Because in the home building world, you know, you don't show a profit on your first closing.
It's at the end.
It starts coming up, but it actually starts turning this month. We just started closing, I think, in June or July. It's 14 closed, so 15 units. So it's when we're 1/6 closed, it starts to turn.
So it's interesting. So basically, he's figured out for each of his projects, he looks at a break-even point. And so no doubt you've done the same thing on your Central Falls West. We looked at how many units does it take to cross that horizon or event horizon, if you will, is what I call it.
Right.
And when you pass that, then you know you're home, so to speak. Or if the world falls apart, you know when you have the option to shut down or take a break.
Right. So this type of equity structure, if you put more equity in, it will theoretically reduce the IRR to, let's say, 15%, 16%. But if you look at home builders historically over a longer period of time, return on equity is 14 to 15%. If you want to take the risk and instead of putting $10.5 million of equity and put in, if you can find somebody who lends you money, only put in $5 or $6 million, and that market turns, you're going to have a big problem fast because it goes out a lot faster than it comes in. When the market turns. Believe me, because you still have your overhead, you still got interest, and you're still paying everybody. So
but you have an IRR probably in the high 20s.
Yeah, but you'll never get it. Yeah, so like I had a banker ask me one day, not a banker I would use, but somebody I would meet, just out of courtesy. He said, well, why is your IRR higher? I said, I have a good idea. You guarantee the loan and we'll get higher leverage. But other than that, this is the way it's taken. And that's the way I want it, that's the way my partners would want it. Because, as I said earlier, if you look at whether it's private or public, the companies that are going to be there for the long term, it's a 14, 15, 16% world in home building. Not to talk about other businesses. In home building, that's what Lennar does. That's what Toll does. Toll does a touch higher because they build higher price homes. That's what D.R. Horton does. That's what the better builders do. That's the return. That's the business.
So what do you have after Central Falls West,
Chapel Grove.
located in?
Pembroke Pines.
You like Pembroke
I
Pines.
love Pembroke Pines.
But you have all that land up in Port St. Lucie.
I don't have it. Minto has it. They sold a big piece of it. They don't have that much
That's
left
good.
there anymore.
That's great. So I can't wait to read everybody's case study to see what you can do there.
So you want to know, he had the question about the distributions.
Yeah, after, as far as the,
And what happens
excess loan
is,
availability,
first the equity comes out. So as you're closing units, depending upon your deal with the bank, but at some point you start sending equity back. Like on this project, we're just working on it with the bank now, we'll probably start sending equity back this month as units close in increment, $1 million, $2 million a month.
Is it after you pay back the land acquisition?
No, in conjunction with, because what happens is, we have so much equity in the project, and we're building so fast and turning it
So it's
over.
very aggressive. Not quite.
You don't have the unit report that I gave you, right? Is that whole Excel spreadsheet?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think so, no.
We have this way we borrow from the bank based on cost and a variety of things, but it shows that what we're entitled to borrow. So this month, we could borrow about $5.4 million based on cost in place.
So it becomes a working capital loan, if you will.
That's the revolving loan, we pay back at closings. We're borrowing $650,000. We started with the 10.5. Then what happened was, we didn't budget, because you gotta be conservative, for that, in Florida you can use the deposits and fee simple if people don't escrow. So we got about 95% of our people are not putting their deposits in escrow. And depending upon the buyer, the deposits range from 5 to 20%. So we got about $2.4 million in unescrowed deposits that basically effectively acts as equity that reduces the bank loan. It reduces the borrowers.
And do people have a choice whether to escrow their deposit?
Yeah, but we charge them interest as they escrow.
You charge them interest?
Yeah, because we gotta pay the bank or pay them, so. And fee simple, and West Palm Beach is a strange market, a lot of people escrow it, but Central, most places in the suburbs, people don't escrow, they don't wanna pay the interest.
you said something here, you pay back 125% of the unit cost
On the land,
on the development.
yeah, the development portion, on the development portion. And
Okay, so when you say development loan, you're talking,
it's
land
1.2,
loan?
it's de minimis.
so that's really the land loan that you pick up?
It's the AD, but we're not borrowing on the land, so it'd be the development cost. Remember, the development cost of 2.5, we were only borrowing $1.2 million.
Mhm.
And we paid, they always want you to accelerate what they call it, the bank looks at the development portion of the loan as the riskier piece of the loan.
Right,
They don't like it.
and
So
they're
they
like-
want to accelerate the repayment of that,
Right, so
between
do like
115 and 125.
125%
Yeah,
or whatever.
they want it back, so ours is de minimis, it's 10,000 units, 15,000 units, it's small. So, matter of fact, we paid that off, because obviously you have excess capital as you're closing units, because if you're making money. So our development loan has been paid off for about 3-4 months now, so there is no development loan.
So that, when you say infrastructure costs, you mean just physical infrastructure?
Water, sewer, paving, drainage, clubhouse, that type of stuff.
So all you have actually is a working capital line right now, just simply to fund your construction.
And overhead.
And I see your construction loan at 75% of the sales price, not really cost-based?
It ends up being cost-based, because we do it on the sales price, then there's a check where it can't exceed so much of the cost. Same thing you guys have got. They have a construction inspector that comes out every month. We submit a large, what we call a unit report, it's I should have brought one with me, but next time I'll bring one.
Basically a G702 form.
No, we
No,
don't, I won't use standard forms.
Okay.
I don't do a lot of things standard. We developed a proprietary unit report in the mid-80s with TD Bank, and that's all we used. At Minto, that's all I use now. And even when we dealt with B of A and Wachovia and Wells, they had to buy into that form. Because the whole job is transparent. So I don't like all these, because then everybody starts making up numbers and nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. This rolls from the budget to the financials into the unit report. It's updated
And so what we're talking about
automatically,
is.
and everybody sees just one set of numbers.
So explain to everybody what we're talking about, because there's a reporting structure that's necessary to make sure not only partners understand it, but the banks
bank.
need to see it, and that's the key,
So-
as to how you build and how much you're spending when you build.
Yeah, so before the bank will finalize the loan, you'll submit your budgets and your plans. There's companies, like Varian, we've had.
Or IBI and
Yeah,
things
a
like
bunch
that.
that will do a cost analysis on your plans, and then the bank will send them out, and you'll pay for it every month to make sure what you're telling them you spent is in place. So they're basically, that's the bank's eyes and ears. Yeah.
So you said like this month you had to write the,
5.4.
take 5.4,
We're taking 6.
but you're obviously not taking most of that because you're paying interest on it to pay, so you wouldn't take that money and then pay back your equity guys. I mean, that's how I read it kind of, was the,
Well, no, what
the
happens
availability.
is, what I've worked out, and we're fine tuning the language now, is once you hit certain thresholds, like the bank doesn't want you stripping the equity out of the deal, paying back the partners and leaving them with the risk. So we're working on, it's in there, but that was still fine tuning it, but we always said the land would be equity, so we're gonna reduce the 6.4 of land, 6.4, for the number of closings, so that amount of the equity will stay in. So let's say if we closed 14 units, so we'll reduce that number 14 times 70, whatever it is, plus for the development portion. So that will get reduced, so that's the amount of equity we have to leave in the deal. And then we build in an additional reserve, and then we can start sending equity back to the partners. You don't want to strip all the, if you're smart, you don't want to strip all the equity out too fast, because if something goes wrong and you need it, nobody wants to call their partner and say, oh, guys, you got to send it back. It's tough to get it the second time. You don't ever want to make that call. So, it always makes a lot of sense to be very, very conservative on these issues.
Now, are you paying when you send them back a check, their 8 to 10% as well?
No, the equity goes back first.
Just that, so there's no
The
return
way
at
my
the state.
documents are set up,
Okay.
and I'm sure most of them are, it's fairly typical. First the equity, and then, so let's say you pay 10% of the equity, and then it's all calculated, but as you're sending equity back, the interest goes down.
Yes.
And once the equity is gone, then you pay back what they call the pref, or the interest on the equity, which is part of the 4.5. Keep in mind, the pref is part of the profit. And then once the pref is paid back, then you distribute. So,
20 or 50%.
yeah.
So to run your operation, it largely the deposits is funding that, plus whatever the.
Oh, yeah, well, you got deposits, and then you got the bank loans, and you got, remember, we're closing units, which are throwing off a lot of cash. Because since we didn't have to, because we had the equity in the job, we didn't have to borrow the full amount that we were available on all the construction units. So when the units close, they throw off a lot more cash.
One more question, whiskey or bourbon? Which do you like?
Scotch.
Scotch, right?
Sorry, what was that?
Johnny Walker Black.
Whiskey or bourbon?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Johnny Walker Black.
And then if you mix drinks, obviously, that's how he comes up with.
No, I don't do the mixed drinks. I watch him drink the mixed drink. I club soda, so it slows it down a little bit.
Well, we're interested to see what your names are for your next project for your units.
They all appear at the right time.
I see.
What else, is there more sheets you have or no?
No,
That's it?
we're essentially, I think we're.
I think what would be interesting the next time,
Mhm. Let's see.
because I've got that Excel spreadsheet, but I also have this summary page as a PDF.
Because it's not in the loan docs, of course.
No.
No, that's right. And that would be interesting to see how the.
Yeah, I mean, it's, let me ask you something. Can I email you something if I can find it?
Sure,
And we can show it on there,
sure,
and then we'll leave it, all right?
yeah.
I may have it on my phone. I happen to spend half my day on it today.
And it becomes
See if I can
top
find it.
secret in this well.
But this will make it very, very clear.
Just being conservative.
You want to look at that? But I can just read it.
Yeah, here, let me, I'll send it to you. We'll look at it and if it's the right sheet. I think this will make it crystal clear. Sending it to your notebook.
That's fine.
While we're doing that, anybody else have any other questions?
Any other questions?
As far as
He's
the
the master, yes.
timing of the construction,
Pardon?
timing of how you construct each unit?
Yeah, it's,
Because I think you said you did 15 spec or something, or that's what the loan.
yeah, we're allowed 10 specs a month. Takes us about 6 months to build the building.
Whole
If it's
building.
3-story, it's a little bit, if it's a larger building with 3-story units, it could be 6.5 months. But the average building without some of the sub-delays is about 6 months, and then a month to close.
Do you guys
Two
self-perform?
spreadsheets.
Yeah, hold on, let me get this.
Self-perform. They're on
Which spreadsheet would you like?
self-perform. They're
Central summaries and actual results.
No.
Yeah. We've got a whole bunch of people there.
Yeah.
Let's see, redistribution.
But that's what we're working on as well. No, it's not the sheet. No, that will. We haven't agreed on that, so that's the wrong sheet, so I don't want to, let me see, I know it's here.
the screen, they can get a sense of whether, even though the numbers may be wrong, you can see how,
No, but that's not the sheet.
right.
That's a sheet we're working on to solve a problem.
Right, to solve the
I
problem.
think this may be it.
Alright. Give that another shot. Chantal, you had a question? Yeah, right, we'll get you in a second.
You can answer the question while I'm doing this.
Well, my question was kind of actually construction related. I read something that, there's like a lack of construction workers, so companies such as like KV Works are starting to use like prefabricated
Right.
building parts. Like, is that
Yeah, I
something
saw
that's
the
going to
article
affect
too.
your phase two? Is that something you're experimenting with, or no?
No. I said to get another one. Hold on to me. Double the window.
Yeah,
There's a shortage nationwide of construction. We had our depression. A lot of guys left. A lot of them went to Mexico, back home, and other countries. Some of them went to other industries. You guys are, Styles has it in heavy construction, commercial construction. We have it in home building throughout the country. There's a shortage of labor. It's a problem.
Harry, is this sheet?
Is there another sheet there?
No, there's, but we're in a different tab. This is the spreadsheet that you just sent me, the second one. And so you have what?
Summary.
So, this is
Oh,
summary.
go scroll that one.
Mhm. Summary?
Keep scrolling. Hold on. That's the one. Wait a minute. That's the one. That's the one.
So you wanna blow it up?
Yeah, put it up there.
It's up there now.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me just answer her question.
Christian, turn down the light, you'll be able to, because you're to read what this man in there. There you go. And hopefully it's legible. Is it, folks? Not really. Let me blow it up just a little bit more. Okay?
So the problem is the shortage of labor. We build with concrete in Florida. Most of the prefab that's been done, and it's been done for 50 years, 60 years. I mean, this is not a new thing, but it's just people are talking about it again, is all wood frame. So what KB was talking about was doing like modules, like a kitchen module and a bath module. I mean, what component building, where the walls are basically built in a factory, is old technology. I mean, I grew up doing that. Where the walls will be shipped up. Toll has a number of factories. I think the ASM article talked about it in the north. A lot of people in Texas do it because it's a faster way to build. And then there's the modular housing, which this is what KB was talking about. It was a cousin of that. That's been done. It's been a small part of the new home building. I think they said in the article 3% or 6% or something. And it's never really been a nationwide thing. It may grow in the northern climates or the climates where they use wood frame. Here, where it's concrete, I mean, the closest that anyone has done it successfully is with the indoor forms. Yeah, like the Vasta is done. And if you see a lot of the rental guys, if you'll notice that they're pouring walls in metal forms, and they just come up. They're all just solid walls, and they infill it with blocks. So that's it's a faster way of doing it if you're building a big project. But you can't change. Like, you can't start changing all these different models and all the forms. So it's also far more restrictive. Personally, we have a lot of unemployment in this country. So I'll give you a 30-second speech. So if they said a lot of people were sitting home because they don't want to work, they'd rather let the foreigners do the work. Said, you're going back, when we were young, remember the old-fashioned tech schools? They taught people trades. And so if we had those schools, and they taught people trades, and they said, no more no more welfare, no more this, no more this. You're going to school, you're getting a job, and you're going to lay block, and you're going to frame walls, and you're going to put roofs on, and you're going to learn plumbing. These guys make good money. It would solve a lot of the issues. The Americans don't want to do the work to a very, very significant role, and that's creating a lot of the laborers. All right. So here, this will basically, this is the cover page, and you can see there's a lot of different tabs down below. We're looking at the summary. Variant is where the construction inspector comes out, and the land, the development, the site work. And basically, you can see the whole job. It's completely transparent. The bank doesn't have to ask me any questions. So you can see on the summary, so the units pre-sold, the qualified specs, and then the number of closings when we did this, because it was as of October 30th. So there were 63 down to 64 sales. So that's the summary. On the development loan, you can see we were entitled to borrow $719. We released units, the 10 units, that's $87,000. Then available to borrow, we can borrow $631,000 there. We're borrowing, you see on the existing borrower, we're borrowing that. We paid off the development loan. I have a bigger guarantee on the development loan. Bank doesn't like the development loan, so all the excess cash we had first went to pay off the development loan. And then the money is, you can see the vertical construction with what's under, which is what's under construction. There's about 4.2 million. The soft costs that are related to those units, another 3.5 million. Less the units that have closed, less the existing borrowings. Let's say we're borrowing 2.4. So under that we can borrow 3.5. So the total development construction available is 4.1. And then this is just a summary that shows what was spent to date and where we spent it. Then scroll. No. Go back up.
Scroll the other way.
Scroll so I can see this column here. So this is what I was talking about with the availability. That's what the construction inspector says we have in place, which includes the land. Built into the budget, there's a working capital, like you were referring to earlier, $500,000 per month working capital allowance. So we can borrow, there's cost in place of 19, less the equity of 10.5. So that gives us gross availability of 8.5, less the 2.365 that we're borrowing. So we have net availability of 6.1. We're borrowing 650. So we have another $5.5 million that we could borrow. But we're not, because of the equity and the deposits and the additional and the closings that we've effectively reinvested in the job.
So what this sheet does is basically it keeps them, they know that they have, in this case, there's always an excess or surplus of funds available in each month, so they can manage their working capital, number one, and that they have a comfortable margin so they can borrow.
That's your
They're not
bank
hard
account.
up against
That's
it.
your bank account.
That's
Like,
right.
I had to tell the banker today, I said, you don't understand, I've been looking at this sheet for 30 years. That's our bank account, that's our reserve. And if you're conservative, we always like to see that number high. And it just makes you feel good.
And the bank feels comfortable.
Yeah, they're
saying
very
that
comfortable.
You've got it.
And they break it down, total availability and construction availability.
And so all of these other summaries lead into it, with your variable cost, your
Yeah.
land, and all of these.
Yeah, you can go back and go a little slower if you want. There's nothing else, unless anybody's got a photograph of that. But, the next one, the variant, is what the construction inspector does. So he comes out every month. What we spent that month. See, another thing we do is we always cut off at the end of the month. By the time this guy comes out, he was there yesterday. Yesterday. So he's looking at work that's 2 weeks beyond even what this report shows. So he's very, very comfortable with us. A lot of people try and estimate the next 2 weeks worth of work so they can borrow it, and then the inspector's always chasing them around and turning them around. Then you got the land, the net land, I think, is the next step, right? Yeah, that's just it just shows you the basic cost. There's nothing fancy there.
So, and here's your detail,
Yeah.
$2.5 million.
So there you, like when somebody was asking about infrastructure, you can see everything we're putting around, the paving, drainage, soils, site lighting. taxes, contingency.
So you're about 75% of your land development so far.
Yeah.
Where do you include your, like, legal fees for Mealy and, you know, for your, because you had to get his own.
Yeah, they're in our soft costs,
And it's
on
on
the G&A. And what we call in our, well, you, oh, he's going, where do you go? Oh, there.
I'm blind.
Right. Site work.
Yeah, so we call this our construction site cost, but that's basically the overhead to run the construction site, the superintendent, the project manager, the machines, the equipment on the job, the office rental, everything else.
So these are all the individual lines, folks, which,
Yeah.
which we had in our budget before.
So here's where you can see Rosie over there. There's architecture, Rosie.
Rosie can have a loan.
And there's, you got all the consultants, so the site plan submission, the survey, the landscape.
Folks, now we know how much
Firm.
Rosie's firm got. So, to date, at least.
Yeah.
All right, but what's, and this is impressive what Harry's done, because obviously, and then on this particular, you can sell every single unit, and he's literally tracking the pricing and construction on every single unit.
Yeah, if you scroll over, you can see the whole job.
Here, let me
Everything
shrink
is
this just a little bit here, let me help you see that. So we start over here, each unit building, and literally the entire construction, the vertical, the soft, the options, and then the total for each one. And you can track it for each building. Here, I'll
For each unit, we allocate it per building, then per unit.
right. So you know exactly what's going into each unit.
That's very well organized.
That's the
We don't know how to
only
do it by
way
now, we're in tough shape.
So, Harry,
Yeah.
do you have a job captain that's running all these numbers, or are you doing it?
Me do it? No, you don't have me do
I just wanted to know if he was a mathematical
it.
genius.
No, that's not me. No, actually, there's obviously Gary Clement, who, I think you may have met him.
I did meet him once, yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
He runs all the construction, he lets all the contracts. But if you want to know the truth, I have my accountant who's been with me, my personal accountant for 30-some odd years. She lives actually in Ocala. And she does all the bookkeeping and accounts payable, keeps track of all these reports.
He's probably at about 200 feet above sea level, so that way it's pretty safe in
Well,
case
what we
of a
tried to do,
hurricane.
we try, I think I mentioned it the last time, or last week, I tried to simplify things, because I've been through all the big, high-end, expensive software programs, which are a nightmare. So, when we budget the job, and it's all in Excel, everybody, you guys know, the whole world is Excel today. It's all in Excel. And then she can link the budget into this unit report. So she doesn't have to do it 3 different times. So as she's doing her monthly statements, everything is updated. It all pulls, and it's all tied together with QuickBooks. I mean, it's a lot cheaper than J.D. Edwards, and it's more reliable. And it doesn't matter if I have 1 job or 5 jobs, because you just have a different QuickBooks for each job, so it's not gonna blow it out or anything. And to be honest with you, I'm getting more accurate reports faster than when I had when I had big departments and fancy software. I mean, it's incredible, but it's not rocket scientist. And what I was kidding you about before, don't let people over-confuse you with the issues. You gotta understand the basic. You gotta understand the basic numbers and what's in the numbers. Maybe next time I'll bring them. I have one sheet that I use that I told you I run every job through. If it doesn't make it past that sheet, I'm not wasting any of my time through here. And I have another guy that works with Juanita, who's my accountant. Because, I don't want to have all these full-time people. Cheap. He basically is a local CPA firm. He basically does all the modeling. Like when we do the cash flow models and so forth. So it's the same model. It's the same basic model that we built, I don't know, in the 90s sometime when I was at the and it keeps on getting fine-tuned and everything else, but it's for us it works very, it's good. It's as accurate as any model is going to be. It's wrong when you're done with it, but hopefully it's from a range of magnitude correct. And so, but all that like can tie in. It's all using the same numbers. This deal that they want to have one set of numbers for the bank and one set of numbers for the partners. All you're going to do is confuse yourself. You'll never know where you are. You're going to end up in trouble. And it's all transparent. Anyone that understands the business will know right away where the bodies are buried. Yeah, so there you go. Everything is done by you.
Right, and you've got capitalized expenditures, your interest costs, your
The whole job is right there.
So-
And I give this to my partners every month.
That's right.
I know most guys, I think they give it quarterly. I give it every month. Why? I gotta do it. The bank gets it. I wanna see it. I know my money, I'd want to see what's going on. And I don't want anybody to say to me, well, you didn't tell us. It's all here. There it is. Have a good time with it.
And I think you'll find actually, certainly the way we do my company and many other, I'll say at least smaller companies, we create our own models and ultimately we continue to refine it.
Correct. That's what
And
exactly correct.
it's as reliable as any of these big, huge.
Better. I've used the big models.
Because we know what's in them and we manage them directly and it's much more efficient as a result.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions for the master builder up in the front here?
That's the simple.
Yes, I do have a small one.
You can turn on the lights.
Yes, that's right.
What was the question? I guess the question in the analysis was, what are the benefits of having, of being a well-known builder with a track record? And I was going to say, obviously you have a healthy amount of equity, but if you were starting today, what would you do different? You just told us not to get in debt,
I wouldn't do, well,
If you were out there starting today, would this something like
even
this?
if you were building one home,
Right.
all right, if you went into the Golden Triangle, which is, Rosie's designing a lot of homes in this area. It's an area where they're doing a lot of knockdowns and movement. Even if you're building one home, whether you're building one home, or 89 homes, or 1,500 homes, I wouldn't finance it differently. Meaning, I'd spend X dollars for the land, that would be equity from the partners and I. And then, well, you don't have any infrastructure, and then you want to have some additional equity that are going to pay for your soft costs and your upfront so you get started. So you don't, the worst thing you want to do is run out of money. and just structure it, the principles are the same. Whether you're little, I'm a small guy now compared to what I was doing. But it's the same principles that I learned from the founder, one of the founders, but the real genius at Minto, the same way we were at Minto, same way from a financial and building standpoint, same way I read it. Lennar, while it's different, it's not that. At the end of the day, the principle, the theory is the same. Strong equity. Particularly at any point in time in the cycle. Your first time in, if you go in, listen, you saw a lot of guys go down the last time in South Florida with the condo thing and everything else because of very, very thin equity. When it goes bad, I guess you do a lot of this work in terms of financial restructuring and everything else. When it goes bad, it goes out very, very fast. It takes a long time to build it up when you're making money, and there's a lot of singles and doubles. When you're very, very lucky, you get a big home run, but those don't come that often. But when it flips, it goes out a lot faster than you made it. So your armor, and I used Jamie Dimon at JP Chase, but he used always the term, he wants to have a fortress balance sheet. I call it a fortress financial structure, because I'm not that smart that I know when it's going to turn the other way. So what I would do is, doesn't matter whether it's one house, you're going to build a spec house. Put in if the land is $700, put in $1 million of equity. so you got enough working capital to get started. There's always gonna be things you don't know about. Believe me. There will always be issues that cost money, even in the approval process, right? There's always another 50 or 100 or something more you didn't know about.
That's correct.
And no matter, I don't care what you're doing. You know, so it's.
So if you're over-capitalized isn't the right term, but if you're well-capitalized,
Okay.
that's the key.
Properly capitalized, you live through it, and you pay for it, you don't sweat. If you're not properly capitalized, then you become a beggar, then you're gonna go look for more equity, and then they're gonna put you in a clamp, they're gonna tighten it, they're gonna send you down the road, and you'll work for, peanuts.
That's the real good key. Any other questions, Dustin?
Yeah.
And then Frederick.
Any other, like tricks of the trade or black magic kind of stuff you do that helps you, eke out that last little dollar, throwing cows on a piece of land to avoid taxes?
Yeah, but that's
or-
an old one, yeah, we got time.
Yeah,
I got cows on the piece of land that I'm buying now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put them there, the owner did, but, we've all done that, the agricultural side.
And it's working.
I don't know, it's told me the harder you work, the luckier you get, so it's just. Be very, very observant. Don't be afraid to learn from your competition, whether you're in commercial or retail or office or whatever. Listen, I still go around a lot and look and get ideas from every people, Everything has been thought of before, I personally think of it again. And try and know all facets of the business. You're not gonna be an expert in every part of the business, nor should you be, but listen, I'm not a finance person, but I know the spreadsheets, and I know what I gotta know about the spreadsheets, and I'm the one to tell them how to set it up. And no, I don't go cell by cell. If I'm paying all these people, if I gotta do that, then I got the wrong people. Don't use red on my stuff. And never use a red pen. Rule number one, never a red pen.
I
Never
always
a
use a
red
red
pen.
pen for
Ask
me.
me, I'm not allowed to
Because
write
my
on
vision's
mine.
bad.
Never red pen.
Is it bad luck that you're gonna be in the red or something?
Red ink, red ink. You want black,
Yeah.
black, or green.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a builder, doesn't matter, commercial, retail, you may not be the construction guy, but it's important to understand construction and understand the process. May not be the marketing guy, but it's important to understand what's going on and what your competitors are doing and what you can learn from them and what you can learn that you're doing wrong. I mean, look at Terry. Terry knows every piece of the business. There's nobody better than him, right?
Yeah. I think I'm obligated to say so, actually.
Pardon?
I think I'm obligated to say so.
No, you're not obligated, I can say it. We're very close, but we have extraordinary respect for him, He's built his company that basically includes all the different disciplines, from brokerage to construction, to property management, to architecture, to development, in a lot of variety of areas. And he has people who understand business, and he understands the entire picture. And, when you go into a new business, you drill down and see what you have to learn about the business.
Frederick.
Oh, yes.
But don't go in just relying on this one and this one and this one. You gotta understand.
You gotta know it in your own.
You understand the business, a building, in my opinion, from the grassroots level. The design, working, all pieces.
For Central Falls, were there any hurdles that you had to overcome for the approval process?
There's always rules. Yeah, you gotta be nice to your neighbors. You gotta get them not to complain. We were lucky. What helped us at Central Falls a little bit is they just disapproved, I think it was 280 rentals or whatever it was. So we came in with 89 units of ownership, and they were thrilled. So from that standpoint, we didn't have any opposition. But dealing with the governmental agencies, Rosie knows, you spend half your life talking to the fire department that nobody will overrule, nobody. And actually the piece next door, because it was the last piece of a very, very large 1,400 acre PUD, the complexity of easements on the property was unbelievable. I still don't think every day, it's been you had abandoned utilities, replace easements, move utilities, rip out utilities. And particularly a lot of what you're gonna be left with these infill sites, whether urban or suburban, is a lot of complex legal issues relative to the land and relative to previous uses or what people were gonna do there. So it's important to surround yourself with strong professionals. Don't price shop your professionals. Go get the best value, meaning the best professional that will treat you well and do a good job. You don't want to be ripped off, but don't get a C-level attorney because he's $100 less than Dennis Mealy or something, because you may not get the approval, or get the wrong engineer, or get the wrong architect, because you'll pay for it far more.
When we were touring the properties, you said to me that it was really about those relationships that you've had with those people for a long time, so that's how
With
you
the
pick
trade.
those people that you've worked with. When you have to find someone new, where's your first avenue? Just reaching out to your network?
I'm looking for somebody new now. We're doing a deal. No, we're looking for like an assistant construction manager, but because like somebody asked, it's busy, so you know we're advertising on all the online things and on LinkedIn and everything else. We just, like Rosalind, who you met, who's our sales manager, she's new. We found her, you know, again, advertising. Like with the salespeople, the existing salespeople that I knew, well, they were all in the middle of the job, so for them to leave, they'd be giving, because with the way we all write the sales contracts, if you leave, you're not gonna get your back end of the commission, so they give up a lot of money up there. So, you know, you're just trying to find the right person that fits in with the right culture, that's gonna, you know, share your values and work intelligently and work hard.
One more.
Yeah.
From application to approval, how long did that take you with the city?
Because we had to get a land use plan, it took about 13 to 14 months.
Okay.
If you just needed a site plan, like we wanted to build commercial, it'd be about 8, 9 months. But with the land use plan change, the way the statutes fall, and because you have to go city, county, state, back to city, county, state. So you have to get the land use plan changed, then you have to rezone it, then you have to get the site plan. Now, some of those things you can do simultaneously, but the land use goes from like 8, 9 months to about 14 months. And that's the fastest you can do it, even the city can do it.
Even compared to like another municipality, like what in West Palm?
If you
Totally
get-
different volume, I guess.
Yeah, but if it's the land use plan change,
Still takes some.
because it's a state statute, you have to go to the state and back. If you're just getting a site plan, and then each city's a little different, but it's around 9 months or so, plus or minus. I think West Palm was around 9 months, I think. So. But they all got their own shtick. There's always issues. I mean, in West Palm, I would hate to tell you how much money I spent on picking up garbage. Because they're garbage guys who sit in an office in downtown West Palm Beach, you know, if you go to the site plan, can you pull this up?
Which one?
Essentially, it's all the same thing. You know, we have the alleys between the buildings. So they were giving us a hard time. You gotta put the garbage cans on this side of the alley, and then on that side of the alley, and the garbage trucks don't wanna turn around. So Gary, like in Boca, was taking pictures of how they pick up the garbage. And they kept on making us rewrite the documents and because they want to know that the garbage trucks can come down here, and then what do? They back up, but you know, if you ask the garbage, you know, if you ask the people that don't pick up the garbage but are in the administration portion, they make all the issues. So I was there about 6 months ago. What do I see? They have this special little truck, which the city has had for years. It swoops right down there, it picks them up both sides of the thing, boom, 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 boom. Totally divorced from reality. But I spent close to $20,000, $30,000 with them in rewriting the documents on garbage.
So is
Which,
it allowed
I
a
think you
full-size
asked me, which was unexpected. No, they plan it for a full-size truck. But what they do is the garbage trucks go down the alley, even the full-size ones, and then they back up. But they want to, you know, they always got different issues, but it's the people that don't pick up the garbage. It's like the guy guys in the construction, the guys in the field and the guys in the office. The guys in the office are figuring it out this way, the guys in the field are building it another way. Sound familiar?
And wait till the next crew comes in.
Yeah. That's it?
I think that's it.
Can't
That's great.
confuse you
Let's
anymore?
Give them a round of applause.
Take care.
All right, thank you, sir.
See you guys next time. Good seeing you. Bye, Rosie. I hear you're getting more permits ready, Rosie. Pardon? Yeah, I know Garrett. All right, thanks.
All right, have a good
Thank
break,
you.
whichever it is.
Where's your office? Downtown?
Yeah, downtown.
Give me a call when we're ready to drink.
Sounds good.
But not a mixed drink.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get back into the rest of our building. All right, thank you.
I was just saying that his track record is not only the product, it's everything he does. For me, working with him,
I don't remember sure it was the happy
This is
hour.
the product, that's correct, no question about it.
No, solamente dijo que
Still don't have air.
solamente cuando dijo que no
Change that.
I still don't read it.
Sold.
Well, I have my first menu. Couple days.
Sí,
I was like,
a las 6, correcto.
unless I- okay.
Partners in the
Sí,
work.
ajá.
Six.
That one's the worst.
I'm also honest.
I was good at just your time, like, so probably doesn't,
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. I'm actually really happy.
You're like,
to-
okay.
I'm so feeling better.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh, it's right.
well, that's, vindication.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Let's get some deals going, get the checks going, and we'll talk.